This is all. I just did this whole take. Okay, we're gonna restart.
Okay, there we go. Let's start this over again. Hey guys, welcome back to a how-to episode. We're back today on part 2 of my chain gun prop video series. It's not necessarily a tutorial. I am explaining how and what I'm doing to make this chain gun prop for my Terminator T600 cosplay. The T600, of course, is from Terminator Salvation, one of my favorite Terminator films. Now, part 1, I made the muzzle brake, there's the barrels, and then this part, which I made to attach the body and the barrels to the body eventually. Now the body, I'm going to show a bunch of images that I've collected here and edited with contrast and sharpness to enhance, to see exactly what this thing is, because I can't find an actually high-res version of this weapon used in this movie. I can only find things from like Hot Toys or other high-quality action figure or statue companies, and then I've had to screenshot and enhance and zoom into it. And what it looks like is that there's essentially 3 cylinders that are combined in some way. And we're going to figure that out. I'm probably going to have to kind of ad-lib that part to get to it. Again, 3 different cylinders, 3 different sizes. Let's jump right into it. Part 2 of the chain gun prop how to build series. Let's go.
Alrighty, I'm back at it with a bit more of a candid commentary. For the body cylinder, we're actually going to use the templates that I use for the muzzle brake here as a basis. Now, because of this rectangle, it is going to need to be a little bit bigger, which is really not a big problem. So what I basically did is I just went back into my kind of drawing program, enlarged the circle that I use for the muzzle brake face, increased that for the cylinder, the body cylinder face, and then reprinted it, and then cut it out. Then I pretty much did exactly what we did with the muzzle guard, which is just recreate the wrap, taking into account the thickness of the foam and making sure that I wasn't going to waste any foam by cutting too short or anything like that. So now, because the body needs to be much longer than the muzzle guard, I had to use 2 8 by 11.5 inch, regular size pieces of paper and taped those together, and then made the wrap for the cylinder out of those 2 pieces. It gave me plenty of room to make the template, which is what I wanted. I'd much rather accidentally not use enough paper versus not use enough foam. So that's what I did there. Unfortunately, this video is just a bunch of cylinders. So it's going to be a lot of those processes. Hopefully I can kind of shorten the video that way, but it's still important to show you guys my process and how I do things. So just went out and cut all the pieces out of foam. I tried to use a scrap piece here, figured out unfortunately I was not going to be able to use that. However, what I could do is use this scrap piece of foam to create a sort of lip or rim that happens at the beginning of the body that I see in all these images. So again, just trying to use all the foam I can, using the template for the wrap as a base for the rim. I then cut that out, and as you can see, I still have plenty of extra foam for that, which is great. Okay, so the next thing I had to do is figure out, because this rectangle is here on the body side of the barrels, how the cylinder is going to wrap around this rectangle shape. So I lined up, I figured out what center was on this, went in and figured out how far this goes into the cylinder, or sorry, the coins shape, puck shape of foam, cut out the rectangle, figured out the sizing. I got it pretty much on the first try, which is really lucky. I then went around and figured out where everything was going to sit, where the barrels were going to sit on this piece of foam, and that was where I was going to apply the glue. And then I went and started to build the cylinder for the body. So you can see here that I actually accidentally missed a step, but you can see I just basically rotated it the same way that we made the cylinder before, but I missed a step in filming. I did create a lip so that the body, or the barrels, kind of go into the body cylinder a little bit more just to kind of add this idea, this sense of, depth to the piece. The barrels are coming out of the cylinder instead of sticking out on the sides. What I didn't do with on this cylinder, unlike other cylinders, is I actually didn't glue together the final edge, so that adding this face of the cylinder was going to be easier. Once I was ready, I went ahead and applied glue to this final puck. I'm just going to call it a puck going forward. And applied glue as well to the inside of the cylinder on the butt end of the cylinder here, if the barrels are the front, and then finished off the cylinder like so. This is something that's going to happen in this part of the video, and honestly the parts going forward, is the chain gun gets so big that unfortunately I just miss filming some of the things that are out of frame, so I do apologize for that, but it's just the nature of building something like this. And there we go. This is where I realized, wow, that is really angled badly. Which is really unfortunate, because I tried my best. I tried to correct it here, but it's just not working. Which is, part of foam crafting. I decided to kind of put my head down and continue on. This seam that you see here, I am going to try and hide it and make it the brace side, so that all these things are going to be glued on top of it, but that'll come later. And then here I'm just measuring that rim that I cut out, and realized I cut too much foam, which is good, better than too little foam. I corrected the cut, went and made sure that the fit was good, and it was. So I went ahead, applied glue to both the body and the rim here. And then once the glue was set, I went in and attached the rim to the body. All right, now we're going to work on the final bit of detail work for the body cylinder, which is this sort of piston-looking thing that sticks out from the back. All the images I found that have an angle showed this piston. I don't know what it does, but I got to make it. So I just simply created a sort of gradual etched piece that's going to come and sit off of the body just to add some detail and some depth. Figured out where the piston was going to be on this piece and drew it out. The piston's going to be made out of this foam dowel that I bought from a local craft store. These things are pretty great, and I'm very thankful that I got them. I've been finding them on clearance, and I've been buying them only when they're on clearance. And I've got a bunch of them, and they're really, really helpful. Used a Dremel just to clean up the edges so everything was flat, or as flat as I could make it. Applied glue to the two pieces and combined them. And then once all of this was put together, I then decided that it was time to attach the final bit of detail to the body cylinder. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add this bit of wrap to the barrels that I completely missed in part one. So yeah, every chain gun or minigun prop I see has this wrap kind of midway to keep the barrels in place, I guess. I don't know. I just add it. I see it everywhere, so I'm just going to add it because it's a detail that people are going to recognize. If I recognize it, other people will recognize it. Okay, so now we're going to work on this side cylinder here, or series of pieces where the bullets are going to be fed into the minigun themselves. There are 3 separate pieces. There's one that's a full cylinder. There's one that's a weird kind of strange, elliptical half circle shape. So I went ahead and built that. I'm speeding through this because honestly these shapes are really simple. And I'll be honest though, this piece, this cylinder bit really challenged me. I don't think I got the proportions correct, but it did my best. Following the same steps as I do to make other cylinders, I made this other smaller cylinder. I'm gonna get tired of saying cylinders in this video. Anyway, what I did not do is make it the way I did the body cylinder, which is not gluing on the bottom edge, so that putting in those circles, the faces later on would be easier. I did not do that, and you're going to see that I have to use my knife to try and rearrange the cylinder, which is fine. Also had to use the Dremel just to clear up the edges, make sure it was as round as possible. Once everything was ready, I applied glue and built this other cylinder, the smaller cylinder, on the bullet feed mechanism. So you can see it's really hard because my fingers get in the way and everything. It's doable for sure, but it's not as easy as my other method. Alright, now I'm going to start to combine the 3 pieces of the bullet feed mechanism. You have this one cylinder, you have a half cylinder where the bullets are actually going to go into. I am going to end up adding a detail later on in the building process that I don't do here, mainly because I had no idea what this was going to look like or how I was going to attach the bullets. So I just went ahead and decided that building the piece and getting that going was more important than sitting and not working on anything while I figure out one little detail. This half cylinder really did not work. Unfortunately, the edges just do not curl in the way I want them to, which is fine. You live and you learn. But it is something that you'll see here I do struggle with. I tried using super glue. I tried using some other kind of foam pieces to try and reinforce the curve, which does help to an extent, but not really. Ends up being more frustrated than anything. But first, I attached the 3 pieces together. First time I did this, I actually attached it the wrong way, which is awesome. It's definitely something you want to do with, unreusable foam. Thankfully, I was able to pull this piece off when I realized my mistake in time, that I didn't totally ruin the piece. In fact, I can't even tell I did anything wrong after I painted. So anyway, this is the way it's supposed to go. So I went ahead and, using movie magic, put it in the right place. Making sure that everything lined up and was flat and even on the one side that was going to attach to the chain gun to make that attachment easier. And here you can see, like I mentioned before, I tried using super glue to reinforce the curve. Didn't really work as well. I tried using other pieces of foam to add it, which worked better than just super glue, but I really just didn't think this part through as much as I should have. And again, you live and you learn. I might take another swing at this at another point, but for now, I'm still very happy with how this all turned out, which you'll see in future episodes. Now, to attach this bullet feed mechanism, it does seem to kind of stand off of the main body cylinder a little bit. So I went ahead and just using 5mm foam, added this tiny little rib, which will also make it a bit easier to glue to the body. So this is me just doing that. I did have to take into account the lip or the rim that was added to the body cylinder, but that wasn't too much of an issue because I used 5mm foam for that as well. Once everything was in place, I applied glue and attached the bullet feed mechanism to the body of the cylinder, or the cylinder body. Man, I'm getting my tongue twisters today. Tongue twisters that aren't actually tongue twisters. I totally did not make this straight, so I had to rip it up and try and re-glue everything, which was fine. It ended up being okay, but I noticed that almost too late. So, you know, measure twice, glue once. Right? That's how that saying goes. Pretty sure. Now, there is a little bit of detail in the back of the bullet feed mechanism. So I went ahead using some Dremel and foam dowel and a little bit more 5mm foam. Added that. Nothing really to mention. It's just some details that stand out, so I added them. All right, I again followed the same cylinder making steps to make the third cylinder, which was a full cylinder this time. However, there was more detail on how it attached to the body of the chain gun. As you can see here, I had to use some Dremel work to make the curve of what I'm calling the bracket fit the body of the cylinder so that it would glue down nicely and look a little bit more manufactured. Then there's this weird piston, again, mechanism looking detail on the back of this cylinder. So I went ahead and it was just two simple rectangles with a little bit more foam dowel to add this. All of these details really do get lost, in my opinion. I don't really know what they're for, but they're on all of the images that I see, so I added them. And I also just trusted the process that painting later on would make this look, way better. Once the glue is prepped, attach the foam dowel to the little rectangle pieces there, just making sure things lined up as much as possible, which they did. And there we go. Once this was all done, I then attached this third cylinder to the body cylinder of the chain gun, marking down where I wanted to go. Again, learning from my mistake, measuring twice, gluing once. Once the glue was set, making sure to measure a third time, attach the third cylinder, which concluded for now the main construction work of the body of the chain gun. And this is where it really came to life. I could totally see the full, prop and the chain gun. It was so recognizably a chain gun. I was super excited at this point.
Okie dokes. That's that, folks. I don't write this, I promise. I've finished the body of the minigun, minus a few details that I'm going to work on off screen just because I don't exactly know what I want, how much detail I want, that kind of thing. But here it is. So this is the main body. This is the the bullet feeder, the belt feeder, and then this. I'm actually not 100% sure whether or not this is actually where the casings come out. I just kind of assumed that. But this is that. And again, you've seen as I'm working all the blurry photos that I'm working with, and considering all the blurry photos, I think I've done really, really well. So now we are officially, technically, around 70% done the whole thing. The last thing I need to work on really before it's technically done at this point is actually just work on the trigger handle and then the brace, the thing that's going to keep the black from kind of swinging out from under me and whatever. So that's what I'm going to work on next. But otherwise, I'm incredibly happy with this prop. It's huge. It's bulky. I love it. Could I have done better? Absolutely. Do I see the places that I could have done better in? Absolutely. But that's for that's for another time. Maybe I'll take another swing at this later down the road. But anyway, I hope you liked it. Stay tuned for the next part where I build the brace, and I may even start painting. You never know. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more cosplay content.